All right, good afternoon and welcome to another interesting edition of Standpoint. I am Veronica Danik-Boy. The 2019 election is almost upon us. In a few months from now, Nigerians will head to the polls to elect leaders at different levels who will govern them for the next 4 years. President Muhammadu Buhari put pay to speculations and sent tongues wagging when he declared his intention to recontest the 2019 presidential election. For months now, many Nigerians have gambled on whether the president would seek a second term in office. Well, they finally have their answers. Buhari's declaration wasn't received as good news by opposition parties and politicians who feel the president hasn't performed well enough to get a second term. But what is undeniable is the fact that Buhari's declaration just made the race for the nation's top political seats even more tougher, as he will be the candidate to beat. Well, I have in the studio with me the national chairman of the Action Democratic Party, Engineer Yabagi Sani. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now, did it come to you as a surprise to hear that the president is seeking a re-election bid come 2019?
I believe it's democracy in action. Democracy allows every Dick, Harry to come out and say, I want to do this, I want to be this, I want to be that. But the issue now is the electorate. It's not, so somebody, the president is...
Constitution in have the
exactly, he has that right to say, I want to contest, especially that he's in power. But the issue is, will the electorate be so gullible?
When you say gullible, how do you mean?
Well, the facts are very apparent.
What are these facts that are apparent?
The facts
because
are
the president said that he is heeding the call of Nigerians that he recontests.
Remember, Nigerians were over 180 million. So if he's heeding the call of maybe a few, surrounding him, good. I mean, what about the rest 179 or 79 million people? That's if you get and if you are not forgotten, most times politicians will come out and say, "Oh, I'm answering the call of my people. They say I should come and serve and this and that." So it goes to tell you that we don't have a sense of conviction. We have to be led by people. People have to call you to come and serve. If you have a sense of conviction, you come out and say, "I want to contest because I have something to deliver," not because so and so say I should come and contest. So that's where we fail, and that's why I think the president has failed. You
cannot do without the people when you want to come out, because definitely there are people you want to represent.
Yes, there are people you want to represent, but you have to, especially if you are a sitting government, you must come on your achievements, not on what somebody is saying. Say, whoa, I believe I've done, super, and I'm convinced that Nigerians will vote for me. That's why I'm coming to contest. So it's your records that should speak for you. Not somebody else saying, Mr. President, come and contest because we believe this and that you have not done well, but we believe we give you another 4 years, you will now, surprise Nigerians. We've been surprised enough. We don't like surprises. We like to have something that we can predict. We like to have something that if you say you promise, you can deliver on those promises. Not like the kind of ragtag organization you have called APC, which is, it's not a political party. If they're a political party, you won't have the kind of commotion you are having, even in their
every party seems to be bedeviled with different issues from what we have seen so far. Even the PDP has its internal issues. So also the PDP. But then the focus now is, are you saying that the president does not have the quality, or what we would say, the records for him to seek re-election?
Exactly, that's exactly what I'm saying. You were there once, you promised people that I'm going to do this, I will make sure that I reduce the security challenges you have in this country. I will make sure I will reposition the economy, that I'm going to also make our naira to become a respectable currency in the world. But all this, has not happened. It's not the security challenges that have happened. In fact, we have gotten worse scenario case, in terms of security. Today, you can't travel from one point to another in Nigeria without being afraid of being kidnapped.
But aren't these issues that have been with us over time? Aren't these issues?
No, the only issue we had, which was disturbing the country, was the issue of Boko Haram, and the people voted for Buhari because of two things really. They believed that corruption that was so predominant in the last administration, given his I think
military
his advertised credentials, of a credible, person and somebody that can be relied upon, that yes, he can fight corruption. Number two, that he's coming to bring back, security. That is the issue of insecurity that was bedeviling the country, that he has the qualities, the credentials to fight this, scourge, which was becoming a problem in this country. And that also, given his own personality, he can galvanize the country, he can bring the country together as one united country. So, but all these things have not happened. None of them has happened. It is not issue of corruption that Nigerians did not like, that's why they voted in. Now you have a kind of corruption that you cannot even describe. I mean, it doesn't have a name. I mean, it's beyond corruption, because when you have people that are within the cabinet or within the immediate kitchen cabinet of the president perpetuating corruption, and they're left there without anybody asking questions. That in Jonathan's time, maybe something happened, but I don't think it got that close, to Jonathan. I didn't hear of the Secretary of Government of Jonathan being fired, when he was in power. The Secretary of Government of the Federation is somebody that you believe is your personal staff. You put in there. So that person must have your confidence, must have your trust. So if you have people abusing trust at that level, then that tells you so much about the president himself.
All right, quickly land, because we need to take a break.
Yeah, okay. So what I'm saying is that Mr. President coming out to say, I want to, contest again, believe you me, it's a laughable matter. Because it's laughable because Nigerians are just, wondering, what does this man take us to be? But again, there's a saying that if the man talking to you is a fool, you that is listening, you shouldn't be a fool. The man has a right to say whatever he wants to say. It may be a silly thing. You that you are listening, you can say, okay, I've heard.
But he has the constitutional right, though. Let's quickly take this break and then bring in our second guest to also know where he stands on this matter. Stay with us. All right, you're still watching Standpoint, and joining us in the studio now is an international development expert and social entrepreneur, Dayo Israel. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, before you came, Engineer Sani was talking about we're talking about the president seeking a re-election bid, and Engineer Sani was of the opinion that the president does not have the credentials on which he should seek a second term. But for you, Dayo, I know you've been championing a lot of things. Let me leave it at that, though. But then, should the president seek re-election at this time, looking at the varying concerns that has been raised by Nigerians concerning his age, his health, and so many other things, security and all of that?
I like to quote from the Declaration of Independence. It says, every human being is born with inalienable right, among which are the pursuit, which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So you have a right to life, you have a right to your freedom, and you have a right to pursue happiness. So whatever makes you happy. If it makes the president happy to contest for a second term, by all means, but it does not necessarily guarantee that the president has an automatic ticket. It is his fundamental human right to seek for a second time. The Constitution allows it. That's the limit to which it can run. Now, if the issue of either the president getting an automatic ticket is a different ballgame entirely. Because the president has decided to seek re-election, It still has to go through the primaries in the party. There are other people in the party who are also interested, the Kwakwansos of this world and many other members of the All Progressive Congress. So, because the president desires to run for office, which is his right, and if it makes him happy, by all means possible, he should. But then the final decision is now of the members of the party and the escorts of the party to decide if they're going to give the president their mandate at the party primaries, which our party is going to have because we follow the Constitution. So in that right, I believe that the president has every right to seek and desire for. But the people then have a choice to make, first at the party primary level and at the populace level, to now determine if they want to renew their contract with him as the president, or if they would like to see someone younger, someone different, someone fresher. And I believe that our party also have a lot of vibrant individuals like that, who also have a right to actually seek the party nomination to run for president.
All right, then, still with you, Dayo. Do you think Nigerians will want to trust the president with the nation's economy and the security, despite the situation they have faced so far?
The point is, democracy is about choice. And at the last election, 15 million people said, we trust him with our vote. Another 13 million said, we trust Goodluck Jonathan with our vote. So you can never satisfy everybody, even in your family. The reality of this is that people are going to be able to make their decision. Obviously, some people are going to want to trust him. Some people are not going to trust him. I'm a member of the All Progressive Congress, and I'm one of the people that actually have been championing that while the president has the best interest of the country at heart, people who are also great in the party, young people, not necessarily in their 30s, but young people in their 40s, in their 50s, should also actually stand up and participate in the primaries for the president. I believe that the democracy and internal democracy of our party allows for other people to rise. And the narrative that we don't have other young people in the party or in the system or in the country that can change the nation is a false narrative. You can't tell me that in a country of 120 million people, we can't find another 5 or 10 people. They come and say Nigeria's situation is complex and, you have to. And I say to them, even the vice president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has what it takes to run the country. The Senate president has a fundamental human right and the constitutional right to actually seek for the presidency. Same with the Speaker of the House of Representatives. And we need to, as a people, begin to push and change the narrative and push for equity and push for true democracy in all the systems of our country.
But are we making it easy for the younger generation to push for equity and change the narrative? I have to come to the engineer Sani now.
Well, I don't think we are, because it will appear as if we are all making a grave mistake of thinking that Nigeria begins and ends with PDP and APC. Because that's the context within which my colleague here is talking about, that the party will give in the ticket. No, we've gone beyond that. We're talking about the performance of this government, against which is going to be judged by an average Nigerian. Has this government really satisfied even the 5 basic needs as described by Maslow, Frederick Maslow, in his 5 basic needs? That is biological needs. Do we have food, house provided by this government for Nigerians? Do you have any gigantic project that
But the government came up with schemes to ensure that these issues are addressed.
Which schemes? I haven't seen one. None is delivering anything. So the point I'm making is that we're not talking about what APC did when they came in 2015, selling images and persons, which we don't have any records to really. The real record we have is that this person is a credible individual. He's somebody that's reputable. That's all we had. Today, we have records. We have empirical data, and we can bring. We can ask Mr. President, show me one project which you have commissioned, which you started from beginning to the end of it, or which is even, that I can say, yes, this will add to the economy, will boost the economy, will, at the end of the day, give Nigerians, work and things, jobs and what have you. So the point I'm making is that Nigeria has grown beyond a PDP and APC. We should please be talking about Action Democratic Party and other young parties that came on board because we have sense of conviction. We know we have something to deliver. So we should talk about other parties. Please don't, the saying is that you can't be doing something the same way and expect different results. These politicians you are mentioning are part and parcel of our problems. The system is a system that has been discredited by the same individuals that you are talking about. We should look beyond this system, look outside what has failed. That's what other nations do. They don't just go in going in one cycle, in a vicious cycle. Don't look beyond what you have. Nigeria today is connected internationally. The young people you are talking about are connected internationally. So they don't think within the closet of ABC and what do you call that one, PDP, the crumbling, or the parties that are in the mortuary. You know, instead of you to go to the labor room.
We can't really categorize them as that. They
Well,
are still in existence.
They can't even hold a credible convention. That is their own internal elections. PDP failed. You know, they came out with the same impunity when they had their last convention. APC has spent how many days trying to even just how to organize in internal
let's focus
elections.
Now.
So how can you believe, how can you trust such parties to run a big country like Nigeria that plays a very important role in the international community?
Certain things were inherited, engineer. Don't forget that. Certain things were inherited.
Okay, so I think my point is very straightforward. I haven't talked about the party. Should ask me about the individual of the president. Will the people trust the president? Now, the issue of the party and the president are two different individuals. Now, the issue of the party, I do agree with you that we need to open the space and become a multi-party democracy. We need to give other people a choice and a chance to be able to rise. I am excited that, you know, there are different third force movements. For example, the CFN, the Coalition for Nigeria movement, the Nigeria's intervention movement, and others. We're hearing of the SDP. We have all of these various forces. We need to become, for example, like the United Kingdom, where they have the Liberal Democrat, the Conservative, the Labour Party, the Green Party. Our democracy must grow to that level where people have a choice. Because sometimes if you realize that it's the politics of selection, so when the only options that you have is, so what happened in 2015 was an option of APC and PDP.
No, but there were other parties.
No, but then not at the level at which a democracy would see it for the 2019 election. But moving away from that, it is important that we also understand. One thing that I feel that we should correct is when he said that what has the president inaugurated himself. While I'm not doing Femi Adesina or Gabashewu's job, and I'm not defending the president, but I believe that it's important that we also encourage public service holders and celebrate them if they complete what they've met on ground. Because what we have in our democracy is that somebody comes in and actually cancels what the other person is doing because they want to launch and commission their own project. So now when you are violating the president for not starting some, he has a right to say, you know what, I actually haven't started some because there are good projects I've seen on ground and I feel that we should actually complete and invest into. So if the argument is what has it introduced, then you're telling him that, see, actually you should have cancelled all those other projects you made and start your own, because what really matters is that you start your own. But that's not what democracy is. And if it's only in that area, I will commend the man and say, you know what, the fact that he can say in some areas he is doing a lot to complete the project that he has met on ground. But then it's a different narrative when you now talk about, would the people trust him enough, or is it what the country needs? Now, that's a decision for voters at two levels. The party, his party, and then the people as citizens to say, do we want the PDP? Do we want the APC? Do we want the ADP? Do we want SDP? And now we will make that decision at the poll as citizens of the country. Then that's where the option then comes in, because some of us, even in the party, are saying that we should encourage primaries at all levels, including at the presidential level, so that we can have multiple options and choices to pick from. The reality is that every party you look at in Nigeria, there is an element of people who have been in this system for many years. So beyond the party, it's also about the individual. We must not blindly begin to say this party and this party and this party. We must look at the people. Do they have the competence? Do they have the merit? Do they have the experience? Do they have the exposure? What kind of leadership do we deserve or desire? So, for example, does President Muhammadu Buhari does it for me? With all due respect, I like the man, I like the president, I'm impressed with what he does, but at the same time, I also believe that there are people in my party, the All Progressive Congress, who have what it takes to run the country, and I'm encouraging them to stand up and to contest in the primaries.
All right, Lan, let's quickly move on. Ahead of the 2019 election, political parties have been springing up left, right, and even center. And the last count, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, disclosed that there are about 68 registered political parties in the country now. That number is expected to increase in the coming months, as there are hundreds of interest groups waiting to be registered as political parties. INEC sure has its work cut out for it, looking at the unprecedented number of parties that will field candidates to contest for different positions come 2019. About 67 registered parties and counting. Are we getting what we asked for, or is this about to become a problem? Now, looking at our country's democracy, we're having about 67 to 68 parties. Is that what we really need now? Some have said that this is going to constitute a problem, and this is not good for our democracy, engineer.
No, I think constitutionally, INEC is right to register more parties. There can be hundreds of them as far as the constitution is concerned. And then again, don't forget that the electoral law also has created an enabling environment for management, effective management of such large number of parties. Meaning that if you are using e-voting, whereby the electors can come, you don't have to use the manual system, really. You don't have to print ballot papers. You can use the computers. It's been done everywhere. Nigeria has grown beyond all these stages, where people can come, you scroll, and then
we still face challenges.
Yeah, every country faces challenges. Even America, if you remember Al Gore and was it Bush, election, they faced challenges, but they moved on. So it doesn't mean that you will not do what you believe will, and in the total, the final analysis will give you the result you want. So the point I'm making is that having multiplicity of political parties is not anything bad. In fact, if anything, is to tell you that these two parties have failed, and Nigerians are totally worried. I mean, they are so worried that they are looking for escape. I mean, a way out of the scenario we find ourselves, which is this the end of it? Democracy? Isn't there another way by which democracy can be really delivered to the dividends of democracy can be delivered to Nigerians? And that is why I think some of us approach INEC that please give us a space here, because the whole thing is becoming as if an accident waiting to happen. In the sense that the political party you had at that time, which unfortunately you, the press people, you are still going back to that, rejected and by Nigerians, the era.
We can't totally
of APC and
rule them out.
When you are talking, when even the print media, when they are making analysis, the only thing they mention is PDP says this, what do you call it? APC says this. Nigerians are so, angry when they read about these parties. Please.
Have other parties come, are they as viable as this party?
We are viable. For instance, Action Democratic Party, there's nowhere you go in this country that you won't find our offices or our
It's
ESCO.
beyond finding offices.
No, our ESCO members, not offices. Before you establish offices, you have to have people that run those offices. We have people all over. To the polling unit, because our structure says that we must have a structure at the polling unit. That's what the Constitution says. And the point I'm trying to make is that what you call party supremacy is absent in all these parties that you have had. President Obasanjo, when he came, he destroyed the system that, political party system, which was intended by the Constitution, by saying that the president becomes the leader of the party. And all the governors in each state now assumed the leadership of the party, and that was the end of democracy. What you had was autocracy, or somebody just dishing out orders the way he likes. You don't have leadership of the party, and that is where we got it wrong. That was the beginning of the end of democracy as it's supposed to be played in this country. And this is why when you are talking about third force or whatever force you are talking about, you are saying, believe you me, Nigerians should wake up. Our problem begins and ends with the military. There is no government that came on board in this country that is not on the terms of the military. Particularly President Obasanjo and the rest of them. They decide who becomes what. And these are not democrats. This is why we are failing. They just to look beyond what these people are saying and then get to engage with the new parties coming. Not only Action Democratic Party, I'm not talking about SDP that people are trying to dust up, which also is part of the history that we want to forget. What I'm talking about is that look at the young people, like he's saying, who have gone to INEC to take the paper, the certificate, in order to deepen democracy and give Nigerians what we need, what Nigeria requires, which is an organized, disciplined, an environment that gives the youth and women, that democratic, empowerment to exhibit what God has given to, which is the energy, which the old ones do not have. We should wake up Nigerians.
But they have experience, right?
The experience is, you have the track record. Take him, for instance, if he tells you what he has done, you'll be surprised. that, oh, we should have elected somebody like this, not President Buhari, who he himself will tell you that I should be resting now. Because even if it's just a show,
Engineer, let's bring Dio in now. Do you share the same thoughts with Engineer Tani? Because some persons or some Nigerians are of the view that the proliferation of these parties is an instrument being used by politicians to say, okay, I'm aggrieved, things are not happening here, I need to move out and get something, sponsor a party, and then make more money. It's like breeding corruption, so to speak.
The beauty of democracy is choice. And it's the fact that you have a choice and the right to say, you know what, this goes with my ideology, and you follow it. And if you feel that this marriage is not, as a matter of fact, people have a right to be able to decide what ideologies and what value they want to. In many of the countries of the world, there are multiple parties. Some of them are prominent and some are not. You know, in recent time, we've seen in North America, we've seen, for example, the Green Party becoming more prominent. And as a matter of fact, we should even have independent candidates in our constitution. That, for example, would deal with the issues of multiple parties, because what happens is that many times people have aspirations, they have goals, they have merits, they have what it takes to be able to run for public office. But the platform is not there, and so because they're stifled from running as an independent, they're looking for a platform to actually be able to help them actualize their vision for their people.
If you could just hold the thought, we have Mukhtar calling from Sokoto. Go ahead with your contribution, Mukhtar.
What I would like to say is nobody is interested in an old man, you understand. In the situations whereby the young ones are not ready to do the right thing, we have to go for an old man. The reality is Buhari is old. We believe that he is old. But so far, he is the most credible person we know. There could be many credible people around. There could be a million. But the one we have tested and seen is Buhari. I'm from Sokoto State, and I know many of the people I know in Sokoto, they are leaders. Some of them are young. They are not doing anything. Nothing. For example, the present governor of Sokoto State, I tell you, he has done nothing to Sokoto State. I'm disappointed in him. My thinking that this man is a young guy. He came from the House of Rep as a speaker. He is now the governor. But nothing is happening. So the young ones who we trusted are failing us. We have to go for an old man who we have tested and trusted. That's just my point.
Thank you, Mukhtar.
I think there's an issue with that. So, for example, somebody was telling me yesterday that the only reason why a certain gentleman became a governor in a southwest state in Nigeria was because they were looking for an individual to become governor, and they couldn't find somebody that was trustworthy and say, let's go and speak to this elderly man to bring his son to become governor. Now, you don't blame our generation for the failures of the political class. The political class do not pick merit above loyalty. They first bring loyalty above merit. And this cuts across every political party. So when you begin to put loyalty above merit, you then see you want to, tokenism, you want to give young people a voice. You find the young person that is not competent, doesn't have the exposure, doesn't have the necessary background, doesn't have the skills for the office that you want. You put the person there. The person doesn't perform, and then you blame the whole generation.
So how do we change that?
No. So people must also, in their political parties, young people have a responsibility to get involved. I ran for chairman in Lagos Mainland local government in the last election. I stood up. Yes, we didn't win, but we showed what it means that young people have the capacity to be able to run for office. In the 2019 election, by the grace of God, I will run. I will put the best of my ability. I will mobilize young people, adults, and everybody in my community, and I will run, and by the grace of God, without any doubt, we will win. Now, young people in their own community must do their best to also come out. They must run. They must make themselves available. There are many of us across the country. I'm glad that Fela Durotoye is running. I'm glad Showore is running. I'm glad that there are many of them who people look down on. And I think that
but where do you place experience in all of this? It's not just about running for the office. What experience are you talking about?
Many of these guys have experiences in building business, in managing families, in managing empires. They've done something for themselves. But there's a mentality in Nigeria that you have to have had experience in corruption. You must have served in government. You must have been a senator. You must have done this. Many of those who have had those experiences are corrupt themselves. And so if you want freshness into it, you also have people who have transferable skills, who have skills that they can bring from different places. It doesn't mean they can become president in one day, but it doesn't mean that they can go into the House of Reps. They can go into Senate. they can run for governorship and also move up the ladder. There are many young people. For example, I know this guy who is in real estate in Lagos, Sujimoto. The guy is running multi-billion-naira businesses, employing people, doing almost what Atiku Abubakar is doing in employing Nigerians. He has a lot of experiences that he can bring into management. We need technocrats to come into government. You don't have to have had experience in corruption and in stealing money and in running for office wearing Babangida.
It's not about having experience in running, stealing or being corrupt and all of that.
So what
it's
experience
about
are you talking about?
Rebranding the country.
Yes.
Lifting the country, charting a new cause for the nation.
These are management experiences, leadership experiences, and it's not a man that changes the nation. It's a team. So if you come into office with the goodwill and you can surround yourself with people, I spoke to General Gowon in 2007, and we're talking about how did he succeed as a 29 years as a president. And he said he had permanent secretaries around him who were more experienced, who were exposed, and who knew what to do.
Great. All right, let's take this caller calling from Abia State. Matthew, go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, good afternoon. That's Patrick here.
Patrick.
Yes, I'm here in Nigeria. You see, political parties increase in Nigeria to 7 as is too small. Most should register at least above 150. Based on our population, is it in Ghana or Liberia that we had up to 16 to 25 presidential candidates? At least in Ghana, you see, the more political parties, the more jobs they create. And when they create more jobs, you see a lot of political followers. But the question is this. At the end of the day, with all this increase in political parties, does it solve Nigerian problem? The answer is what? No. At the end of the day, we square back to either 2 or 3. Now, for the president to contest the second bid, I congratulate him for him. You see, like what the speaker says, it is right. But the question is this: Nigeria should at least. These are not the major issues affecting us right now. Because by next week now, you see another topic will come up now. This issue of President Bid and the will die down. Our major issues, and let us face this adjacent university where students have been complaining from 13,000 to 150,000 school fees, which parents are complaining. This is what Nigeria should be talking about. The major issues that affect the masses. The young youth we are talking to come and contest. How would they contest? The school they are supposed to go and get this certificate, they are being denied the opportunity of going to school. And you wonder, you say the youth, how would the youth come up? That's how I say the youth. Don't allow anybody to say that the youth of today are the leaders of today. That one is a false and fake story. Thank you very much, have a blessed day in Lagos.
Thank you, Patrick, for your contribution. Well, you wanted to say something?
No, what I want to say is that, you see, there's a fundamental issue here, which has to do with the system, the process, and then the result you get from that. They say when you are in Rome, you behave like Romans. The system we have today is a corrupt system. You know, the political party system of how candidates emerge is a corrupt system. So there's not, even President Buhari himself came out from that system. That's why he cannot perform, because it was a corrupt system. Money was used, in a kind of awful way. So the point we are making in Action Democratic Party, what we have done, we've given the power to the people, meaning that you have direct primaries. We don't do delegate system where you distribute money. The man electing somebody does not even know the person. All he knows is the money that is given. So we now have direct, primaries in our system, which means you will not have a situation where somebody representing you in your party, you didn't know that person before the man emerges. So it's the issue of the process, the system itself, which is corrupt. That's why the young people are not allowed to emerge, because somebody sits somewhere in Abuja and then writes out list of the delegates, which if care is not taken 24 hours later, that list is getting changed. And it is the highest bidder that normally takes the seat. So we have to wake up and understand that the system we have is a system that was put in place to fail. That's why I'm saying that we must address how do we put together our democracy. Who is the person behind all the democratic institutions we have had in this country? It is the military. They put it in place to fail.
All right,
we should wake up and then do the right thing as it's been done elsewhere.
Tanko, please go ahead with your contribution. Tanko, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Please go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, actually, I am following. What I discovered is that Nigerians are not willing. Yes, I said my name is Tanko Bubandeme. I'm calling from Taraba State. The problem with our democracy is that the proliferation of these political parties are not meant to strengthen the democracy. They are just doing it for their own sake. They are causing confusion. How do you expect more than 70-something political parties to be on a ballot paper? And how do you expect these voters that predominantly, particularly in the northern extraction of this country, are illiterate? How do we expect them to vote according to those political parties? Some people just gather themselves, put themselves into an hotel and form a political party as INEC, because Constitution has given them kind of cover that you freedom to form a political party. I am of the opinion that INEC should register most of these political parties and leave those that can perform.
All right, thank you, Tanko, for your contribution. INEC, the registering parties?
I think my contribution is that there are two things that needs to happen. First, like Doctor has said, there needs to be a reform of political party process and internal democracy in all our political parties. It is very important if we're serious about democracy, and which is why I'm happy that even in the APC, there would be primaries at the presidential level and hopefully at the state government level. People must stand up. People must participate in the process. While the president has a right to recontest, I believe that people in the party should also aspire. Now, the second is that we need to change that mentality, that only people who have ruled this country before have the capacity to. I believe, to all intent and purpose, that, for example, in Lagos State, we have produced not just 2, but 3 individuals who have the capacity to run the nation. I believe that despite the challenges that Governor Buhari has had recently, he has everything to take, it takes not just to run Lagos State, but to run Nigeria.
All right.
I believe that Governor Fashola has what it takes to run this country. I believe that the people, even in the cabinet, who are technocrats, or Akinwumi Adesina, for example, I believe that Obieze Kwesili, I believe that some of these individuals have what it takes to pull a team together.
We have them.
In abounded.
Yes.
So we should not conscript ourselves to just believe that if you don't have a military background, you don't have the experience, or you've not served in garrison across the country. The country needs a lot of refreshing, or I don't want to sound like a 2011 campaign.
We need to move forward now.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the issue of permanent voter cards, PVCs. Since last year, INEC has been raising the alarm over low collection of PVCs by registered voters, especially in the Southwest, the South-South, and the Southeast. Nigeria has a population of more than 190 million people, but less than 50 million of them participating in electing leaders. Will 2019 be any different?
I believe it's going to be, because Nigerians have never had it, this bad, and you agree with me, because we have never had hunger as we have had it here. We never had the Nigerian landscape to become a killing field, and in the way it is today. So Nigerians now know that the power belongs to them, and they can change. And the beauty of democracy is that you can always sack any government that you don't want. That is if you have a fair, free and fair election. And this is why INEC comes into question, that we want INEC to demonstrate that they are not for this government, because the kind of attitude they demonstrated when we are talking about the order of elections, was not something that we are happy about, because we wanted them to be on the side of the people. Yes, the law says you can do this, but you know better, and nobody says if you order it in a way that will show democracy, we show that you are an umpire that is not, in any way siding, biased, anyway. You will bring out something that everybody will say, yes, this is what it should be. So what I'm saying is that people not collecting PVC is because they hitherto, they were not, they were discouraged. People are angry, actually, that why should we vote? With the kind of promises given to them when the APC government came, and look at what is happening today. So the issue, I believe, is that parties like Action Democratic Party that have come, have elicited, it has made people to become excited that, okay, now we have a chance. We can sack this government. And we have an environment under which anybody can contest and become the president or governor or whatever you want. Go to APC, there's no way, unless somebody is, they themselves, they know it. That Mr. President has declared that he wants to contest. You just be joking. thinking that you can go there and be elected. It's not possible.
You can't categorically say that
I can categorically say that because they have a system. They have a system that is corrupt. They haven't changed that.
I totally disagree with that.
I know that your system is delegate system. It's delegate system.
Yeah. Hold on, please. We have a caller on the line. We need to quickly
are collected in a room.
No. Even delegates
we need
elected.
to take this call, Dio, please, quickly before we iron that out. Go ahead with your contribution, please. Mohammed, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Please go ahead with your contribution.
Hello, how are you? I'm Mohammed calling from Kano.
All right, go ahead with your contribution, please.
Well done. Can you hear me? Yeah. You see, I wonder how people go about saying that the young people should come and protest rather than old people. That man, the chairman of Action Democratic Party, that is talking. We have only two parties in Nigeria, APC and PDP. Any other party cut it out. The African Development Action Development Party, or what do they call it, that is sitting down with the engineer that is talking and condemning what. I want him to come and contest in his party. I want him to come and contest in the party with Buhari come 2019.
All right, Mohammed, we have more than two parties in Nigeria. We have about 67 to 68 parties registered by INEC. Now, we're trying to iron out something before we took that call. You wanted to disagree with something he said?
I think it's important that while the ADP has good aspirations for Nigerians, it's important that you're also a bit realistic, because you realize that when you're in government, the challenges of governance is totally different.
Different, of course.
Entirely, in particular in the executive. Now I'm coming.
Talking about the process to government.
Yes. So
the process of election of even people who are in government.
Election.
Yes,
there's a
which is critically important. That is at the base of everything we're talking about.
Reform.
It's critically important.
It is.
It's fundamental. How somebody emerges to be in government, no matter the challenges you have in governance. Yes.
It is important.
So it's a corrupt system. APC has, corrupt system PDP has.
It's not just an APC matter.
It is.
You can't just categorically place it on a particular party.
Well, they are running our affairs today.
Every party has their challenge and their system. What is important is that members of those political parties must stand up to ensure that the internal democracy of their party is strong. You now bring in an option of your own party. Your job is not to condemn the process in another party, but to make your party attractive for people to also come into. So if you believe so much that there needs to be an alternative and that your party present that, you sell your party based on that. But if you spend so much energy condemning the APC and the PDP, you're not really telling about what you are doing differently. The reality is that while it is true that parties like the APC have challenges in the process, it is also important that the responsibility of members of such parties, and that is why I know even in Lagos, there was primaries in the 2014 election leading to 2015 election. As much as it was, the members in Lagos, when they said this was the person we want, some aspirant insisted there must be a primaries, and there were primaries. So it is now the responsibility of members in the local government election where I ran. They said there was going to be consensus candidacy, but some people stood up in some local government and said, we must have primaries, and they had primaries.
There we have a caller on the line. We have Roland from Kogi State on the line. Roland, go ahead with your contribution. All right, Roland is off the line. Of course.
But what I'm saying is this. You see, I'm not condemning the parties, as you said. I'm condemning the system, which has been proved to be corrupt. Look at what happened in Ondo.
So what are you offering?
Look at what happened. Look at what happened in Ondo.
So what are you offering differently? What is the ADP offering?
What we're offering is the direct primary that every card-carrying member of our party has the right to vote during the internal elections, where a candidate emerges, to stand for election.
So fantastic. Sell that to Nigerians. It's their choice to take that.
Yes.
Nigerians also have a choice to go with the PDP.
Nigerians must be told. Those are told the ills. That is what it has, because that's what has brought us to where we are today. You don't have a system that is credible enough to bring people.
Before even APC emerged. This is a
No,
system.
this
Each party has their own system.
Yes, but that's why we are saying don't continue to do the same thing the same way.
same
There's
way.
different results.
Absolutely.
We are now bringing something different,
Yes.
which has worked everywhere in the world,
Okay.
and which is credible, which
Yes.
you can vouch for, which has a process of a recourse, which has given people the power to decide who really represents them, not somebody who has money per se. So that's what I'm talking about.
Fair
that,
enough.
That even the presidential primaries we are going to have, like you know yourself. I'm talking about Ondo. Why was Tinubu changed in Ondo? It's because of delegate list. The list they sent to Ondo was different from what, 24 hours later, a different list was sent. If you had direct primaries like we have, that cannot happen.
So that's fantastic.
And that stabilized the system. And that's what Nigerians are looking for. All the things we are talking about are just the effects. We are talking about the cause. What is causing the problem of Nigeria being in a vicious cycle? We cannot move forward.
I believe that 2019 will be different. I believe that many young people are going to rise. I believe that many political parties will create a platform for people to actually be able to express their aspirations. I believe that people would get a chance to be able to see options at the poll and choose whoever they believe has the dividend, has the merit, experience, and passion, and can deliver results to the people. That is what I believe generally out of this meeting.
Please, we can't believe anymore in people that spend their money, that will fly into this country with a briefcase and then distribute dollars, and then you expect that person to perform.
Nigerians are more aware now.
Exactly.
Nigerians are more aware now. So the decision is there.
You have to change the system.
That is why they have to get their PVC.
That's why they must come to Action Democratic Party, because we have.
That's what it is. It is a decision for them
the electorate.
to make.
I think what is important is
they are not happy with what is happening.
The citizens get their voters card.
The decision to make, and they can only make that
because
decision
how do
with
you
their
guarantee?
PVCs.
They made a decision on President Buhari, who has been sold to us in fact.
That was in 2015. We are talking about 2019 now.
But because it's operating
now we are
in a
moving
forward.
We are moving forward.
Thank
we are
you,
moving forward.
Thank
now.
you, ma.
So calm down.
So,
are you calm?
I'm calm.
So I think this is
All
another
right.
thing you must consider. So
Yes,
it's a different. Yes, you put in primaries.
Yes.
But also the quality of individual that stands on those platforms is very important.
That's
and we must encourage a lot of people who have before now seen politics as a dirty game, as a dangerous game, in particular people from the faith community who do not consider being in politics as spiritual, to begin to change their orientation. The church needs to get involved in politics. The mosque needs to get involved in politics. Technocrats need to get involved in politics. If you refuse to get involved in politics, you will be ruled by your inferior, and that's why everybody must rise. I would wrap up with the statement from Nelson Mandela. He says, it falls upon a generation to be great. He says, we can be that great generation. The task would not be easy, but not to do it will be crime against humanity. So every one of us, either in ADP or in APC or in PDP, we have a responsibility to hold our party leadership accountable, to hold our community leadership accountable, to hold our elected leaders accountable, to be able to deliver democracy. So,
all right, thank you so much.
Stop criminalizing Nigerians, because you are criminalizing Nigerians. It's a criminalized process. You go and start distributing money to Nigerians. You make them become corrupt themselves in the process.
Your party is coming with something different.
Exactly, that does not allow criminalization of Nigerians by reducing somebody to money.
Engineer Yabagi Sani and Dayo Israel for your time on the program. Well, that's it on today's edition of Standpoint. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you can watch a repeat of this edition tomorrow by 7 a.m. I'm Veronica Danik Boy. Enjoy your weekend.